So hi everyone, this is another episode of Creativity Reframed. This, for anyone who has watched these series knows, is an exploration of the important and increasingly crucial role of creativity, problem solving and innovation through crisis. As we're digging deeper and deeper into the second wave of lockdown, those things have never been more important. So joining me today, I'm delighted to have with me a force of nature of a lady. I have Celia Pronto joining me, who is the MD of Love Home Swap, which is a high growth startup which is doing brilliant things. So Celia, welcome. Lovely to have you on board today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Celia, I always kind of start these sessions with just a bit of a kind of personal question of the world's gone bonkers. How have you kind of dug deep personally? How have you kind of coped through all of this?
Well, goodness me, doesn't it half call on your reserves when we've hit this? And for all of us, we've had to really question how we deal with crisis moments. And of course, everybody has crisis moments in their lives, but this is a monumental crisis. Of course, once you get over the initial shock of what's happened, there have been a few things that have emerged for me as being particularly important as coping strategies. I think the first has been routine, because when you go from getting up at the same time every day, commuting to work, having your schedule of commuting home again, and all of that are massively disrupted. The importance of finding a new routine as a new anchor point has been hugely important. Because we're all now living and working in the same home spaces, trying to create a clear delineation between home life and work life. And I'm super fortunate in that I do have a space that I can designate as this is my office, this is where I work. So at the end of the day, I can log out, leave my laptop, leave the room and mentally decouple into home life. And then quite frankly, when times have got tough, just switching off the news and not watching the news.
Yeah, I think there's some kind of really important stuff there. That idea of mentally decoupling. My office has been out of action for a few weeks and I can't bear it. That notion of being always on is just exacerbated if you're not fortunate enough to have that space. So completely agree with that. And when we kind of come to those topics of problem solving, innovation, actually how we kind of use that notion of necessity as the mother of invention to pull through this. What stuff have you guys been up to that's maybe different to what you might have done before COVID?
There's sort of initiatives and then there's processes, and we've dealt with them somewhat differently. If we start off looking at processes, we are a startup. We have, a tech team, a product team. We use agile in terms of, methodology. So we're very used to working in a very fast-paced environment and a very innovative environment. But our processes were very much built around people being in the same location and people being face to face. We use OKRs in the business. And of course, that very much lends itself to collaborative planning on a quarterly basis. Your big post-it notes all along the walls, voting on priorities, daily huddle, stand-ups, all of that relies on face-to-face interaction. And so we had to go through a process of really thinking about how are we going to change the business and how are we going to change how we work, but still continue to try and capture that innovative spirit. And so we did find a digital tool called Miro. It's fantastic because what it's enabled us to do is to continue having that post-it note style of planning and voting and discussion. So it's not exactly the same, but it's as close as we can get it. And that's actually working really well. And it's meant that able to maintain our velocity and maintain our innovation. I think the other thing we've been really conscious of is how do we make sure that our team continues to feel engaged? It's really difficult when you're all remote, where people might not be dialing into a particular call where you might be talking about a piece of innovation. How do we continue to make sure our teams are engaged with what we're doing? We've worked really hard at firstly making sure our OKR process and our planning processes absolutely include every single person in the team. And also thinking really carefully about over communicating what we're doing. And I don't care if people hear it 20 times, at least they'll definitely know what we're working on and they'll know the initiatives that are coming up. We've tried to look at it from that approach. From a sort of comms perspective and an innovation perspective, some of what we've done isn't off the charts from an innovation perspective, but it's really been about doing the right thing for our members and for our community. We are a subscription-based business. And so how we take care of people throughout the course of their membership really determines whether they stay with us at the end of that or not. And so very early on, we introduced the option for people to be able to freeze their membership, and effectively that just extends their validity. We also introduced 15 months for the price of 12, so that people who were renewing could just get an extra 3 months added on. And then the other big initiative we introduced is a swap guarantee, which is actually, for us could be overly onerous, because effectively what we're saying to somebody is, if you join or if you renew your membership and you don't successfully get a home swap in your first year of membership, we will give you your second year's membership free. But that for us was about giving people reassurance in the platform, in the community, and also doing the right thing. Some of the other work we've done, we collaborated on an initiative called NHS Homes, where we worked alongside some partners who are very much in the short-term rental space. They manage apartments primarily in London, but they do have some reach outside London. Yeah. And we collaborated with them to basically try and make homes available to NHS staff who were displaced during the lockdown, either because they were living with somebody vulnerable and therefore had to move out of the home. Some of them shockingly had been evicted because they were working for the NHS and the landlords did not own their properties. And some of them had really long commutes. And so they needed somewhere to stay a bit closer to the hospitals in which they worked. We were delighted to collaborate on that initiative. So some of it's been just about doing the right thing, and then some of it's thinking about how we innovate moving forward from a product perspective with new products and features on the platform that our members really want.
That's such a kind of rounded array of different initiatives there, Celia. As you say, you're kind of going from that really purposeful, making an impact as a brand and doing the right thing and supporting your membership, but all the way through to Miro boards and how do you kind of sustain that kind of culture of kind of creativity and ideation within the business. Really kind of well considered piece of thinking from you guys there. So that's really interesting. We kind of look outside of your business and look at other brands. Who's got it right? Who's got it wrong? What is the role of brands through all of this? What are you seeing?
You have seen the best of brands throughout this period. I genuinely believe that the brands that have done the right things are going to be remembered when we come out of this, because people do have long memories and people will remember the opportunists from the people who tried to do right. And you only have to look at examples of, Burberry repurposing their manufacturing to make masks, Dyson repurposing their factory to make ventilators. There are some amazing examples of brands who switched it around really, really quickly and pivoted based on where the greatest need was to do the right thing. I do think brands have an incredibly strong role to play, even at a basic level, the supermarkets and what they had to face and how quickly they had to pivot their own businesses. I was listening on a talk that the UK MD of Tesco gave. This was a couple of months ago, speaking about what they had been through and how they had to resource for it and some of the challenges they faced. And somebody specifically asked him the question around their digital roadmap and how quickly they had to evolve and develop new features throughout that period. And he spoke about them delivering what was a 3-year roadmap in 3 weeks because of the sheer pressures on their business. So necessity is definitely the mother of invention, and in this innovation, but also speed to market. So I think we have definitely seen a lot of brands step up and really drive innovation and creativity, and ultimately those are the brands that will be remembered.
I saw a piece, you mentioned Burberry, and they've also partnered with Marcus Rashford as well. So clearly that sense of they're feeling the need to do good wherever it's needed is informing everything that they do, and actually in a very authentic way. I entirely kind of agree with you, and I think it almost kind of takes marketing out of something that can for some be seen as almost, as marketers we all hate the phrase, the colouring in department, of actually marketing becoming the engine room for genuinely making a difference in people's lives when it's done from a place of authenticity, which people can immediately see through if it is or it isn't.
It absolutely has to come from a place of authenticity, but I think it's about the entire organization galvanizing around a priority, and it's beyond any particular function. It is about the entire organization being driven by that, that need.
What are your hopes, as we move into 2021, hopefully at some point move out of this situation? What are you kind of hoping might happen as we come out the other side?
For me, if we emerge from this a kinder and more empathetic society, I'll be happy. I said for a long time that I think we've lost basic civility, and I think we've lost basic kindness. And if we can take those two simple things coming out of this, I think we will end up with a much stronger and better society.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Celia. It's been an absolute delight speaking to you. Such a thoughtful perspective that you've clearly brought to your business. You, for sure, as a business, are going to come through the other side of this even stronger. So take care. Be lovely to catch up again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.